The test of gold. The storm outside rattled the glass windows of the penthouse, but inside, the silence was heavier than the rain. Lightning sliced the sky, illuminating the massive suite in fleeting, stark brilliance. On the king-size bed lay a pile of gold bars, glittering menacingly under the cold, white light. Each bar weighed like a secret. Each gleam whispered temptation. Lucian Vargon, billionaire and real estate magnate, stood in the doorway, his black silk robe fluttering like a shadow against the polished marble floors. His eyes were sharp, almost predatory, but the man's heart bore scars invisible to the public. He was a man who had learned to trust no one. But tonight, curiosity and suspicion had driven him to a cruel experiment. "Maria," he called softly, yet his voice carried the weight of command. "Come here." The footsteps were cautious. Maria, his longtime housemaid, entered the room. She was small, unassuming, dressed in a modest black uniform, her hair pinned neatly away from her face. Yet there was something in her presence, calm, quiet dignity, that made her seem taller than she was. "Sir?" she asked, glancing at the bed. Her eyes widened for the briefest moment, but her expression remained composed. Lucian's lips curved into a faint, almost imperceptible smile. "Do you see that?" His hand swept over the gold bars, a glittering sea of temptation. "All this belongs to me. But I wonder, would it belong to you, if you were left alone in this room?" Maria's eyes narrowed slightly, and for a heartbeat, the room felt suspended in time. She did not move, did not reach for the bars. Lucian stepped closer, his tone dropping, almost cruel. "You've been with me for 5 years, Maria. I've seen loyalty, or at least what I thought was loyalty. Tonight, I'm going to find out if you're truly trustworthy. Take 1 bar, just 1, and I will know who you really are." The words hung in the air, heavy as the storm outside. Maria's lips pressed together. She looked at the gold, then at Lucian, and then down at her hands, folded neatly in front of her. The tension between them was almost unbearable. "Sir," she said softly, "I don't belong to the gold. I belong to my work, to my principles. I serve, but not at the cost of my conscience." Lucian froze, incredulous. No one had ever spoken to him like that. Not a business associate, not a rival, not even family. Maria's words were simple, yet they carried defiance he hadn't expected. "Interesting," he muttered, pacing around the bed. He picked up a gold bar, weighing it in his hand. "Everyone has a price, Maria, even the most honorable, even the most faithful." "I am not everyone, sir," she said. Her voice was calm, unwavering, but beneath it ran a current of quiet strength that made the billionaire stop in his tracks. Lucian's eyes softened for just a moment. Memories flashed across his mind, his childhood, his rise to wealth, the betrayals, the loneliness that money could never fill. And then the suspicion crept back in. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe loyalty is just a convenient story we tell ourselves to sleep at night. He placed the gold back on the bed with a harsh clink. "I need to know, Maria. I need to know if anyone is truly honest, or if everyone is just pretending." Maria took a slow breath, her hands still clasped. "Sir, I have nothing to gain by touching those bars. My life is not measured in wealth. My dignity, my integrity, they are priceless. If your trust in me is conditional on gold, then perhaps that trust was never real to begin with." Lucian's face tightened. He was unaccustomed to confrontation, and yet something about Maria's courage unsettled him more than any boardroom battle ever could. He studied her, searching for a crack, a hesitation, a flaw. There was none. Hours seemed to stretch as he watched her, lightning flashing intermittently, painting her in silver and black shadows. He realized something he had buried deep inside, a longing to believe that goodness still existed untouched by greed. "Sit down," he finally said, voice quieter. He gestured to the chair by the window. Maria obeyed without question. Lucian walked to the bed and sat down heavily, staring at the gold as if it were a mirror reflecting his own fears. "You don't understand," he whispered. "I've been betrayed by everyone I've trusted. Family, friends, colleagues. I've lost so much because people are weak, selfish. And now, I wonder if even you—" Maria looked up, her eyes meeting his. Even me? She echoed softly. Yes, he said, the word almost a confession. Even you. I've built my life on certainty, on control. And yet, here I am, doubting the one person who has never given me reason to doubt her. A silence settled over them, thick and oppressive, yet strangely intimate. The storm outside continued to rage, a relentless symphony of rain and thunder. Inside, a different kind of storm was brewing, one of emotions, of truths unspoken, of a test that had revealed more about the tester than the tested. Why are you crying? Maria finally asked, her voice gentle, breaking through his walls. Lucian did not answer immediately. He closed his eyes, letting the first tear escape, tracing a line down his cheek. Because I've never met anyone like you. Never. I thought everyone had a price. I thought loyalty was a myth. But you've proven me wrong. And I don't know if I can ever repay that. Maria reached out, placing a hand over his. Sir, you don't repay integrity. You honor it. You recognize it. That's enough. For the first time in years, Lucian felt a shift within him, a release of the tension he had carried for decades. The gold on the bed, once a symbol of temptation and mistrust, now seemed insignificant. What mattered was not wealth, but truth, not possessions, but character. Just as he was about to speak, the door to the penthouse creaked open. A shadow fell across the room, tall and imposing. Lucian's body tensed instantly. Who's there? The figure stepped forward, and a cold, familiar voice filled the space. Lucian, so glad you finally tested her. But did you really think she's the only one who knows your secrets? Lucian's blood ran cold. Maria froze. Outside, the storm seemed to pause, the wind holding its breath. The moment that had been intimate, transformative, now threatened to explode into something far more dangerous. And then the shadow moved closer, and the glint of a gun caught the lightning's reflection. Shadows of betrayal. Lucian's pulse thundered in his ears, a deafening drum that seemed to shake the walls of his penthouse. The intruder stood at the doorway, the rain outside casting his silhouette in fractured shadows. A gun glimmered faintly in his hand, the cold steel reflecting the pale glow of the chandelier above. Who are you? Lucian demanded, though his voice betrayed a flicker of fear. Maria instinctively stepped closer to him, her posture calm but alert, as if drawing an invisible line between herself and danger. The intruder's laugh was low, almost amused, but it carried a venomous edge. You think you're clever, Lucian. Testing her, try to find loyalty in a world full of traitors. But loyalty isn't the only thing I'm interested in. His gaze flicked to Maria. Who's your friend, by the way? Maria didn't flinch. I'm not anyone's friend or enemy, she said evenly. I serve. That's all I've ever done. And you're here to threaten someone who hasn't given you a reason to hate her. The intruder's grin widened. Ah, but you see that's where you're wrong. Everyone has a reason. Everyone has a weakness. His eyes narrowed on Lucian. And you, my dear billionaire, have far too many secrets tucked behind your golden walls. Lucian's mind raced. Who could know? He had been meticulous, calculating, controlling. Yet here was a man, or perhaps someone worse, standing in the penthouse that was supposed to be untouchable. And the worst part? Lucian realized, with chilling clarity, that he had no plan. Listen, he said, try and steady his voice. I don't know what you want, but there's no need for violence. We can... The intruder cut him off with a harsh laugh. Violence? Oh, Lucian, you underestimate me. I'm not here for violence. I'm here to expose. To make sure that everything you built, every empire, every fortune, is seen for what it really is. Fragile. And I know your Achilles heel. Maria's brow furrowed. What are you talking about? She asked, her voice calm but tight. The intruder shifted, the gun wavering slightly. Oh, she's special, isn't she? The loyal maid who doesn't touch the gold. The one who proves you're a fool for believing in loyalty. But here's the problem. She knows things. She's seen things in this house, in your life, that could ruin you if she ever speaks. Lucian's stomach twisted. Maria had always been careful, silent, invisible in her movements. But the idea that she could be used against him, that she could be in danger because of him, It struck a chord deeper than fear. It struck guilt. "You wouldn't dare," Lucian said, try and maintain a facade of control, though his hands trembled slightly. The intruder stepped closer. "Oh, I would, and I will, unless you play by my rules." Maria's eyes never wavered. She glanced at Lucian, then back at the man holding the gun. "You think intimidation can make people betray their principles. But it doesn't work on everyone. Not all loyalty is bought, and not all courage is silent." The intruder froze for a fraction of a second, the words striking him like a cold gust of wind. Then, just as suddenly, he barked a laugh. "Courage! That's cute. But courage won't stop me from taking what I want." Lucian swallowed hard. "What do you want?" he asked cautiously. The intruder's eyes glimmered with malice. "I want your secrets, Lucian. Every hidden account, every underhanded deal, every betrayal you've made in the name of power. And if you don't cooperate, Maria suffers." Maria's face remained composed, but inside, her mind raced. She understood the stakes. One wrong move, one flicker of fear, and Lucian could lose everything. She also understood that the intruder underestimated her. He thought she would break, that the fear of danger would force her to betray her principles. Lucian took a step forward. "You won't touch her. She's done nothing wrong." The intruder's gun moved slightly toward Lucian now. "And what makes you think I care about her innocence?" "She's your weakness, Lucian. Your Achilles heel. If you don't give me what I want, she pays a price." Maria's calm demeanor began to ripple into action. She didn't move toward the intruder. She didn't reach for the gun. Instead, her voice cut through the tension like a blade. "Sir," she said to Lucian, "listen to me. He wants your fear. He thrives on your doubt. If you give him even a fraction of it, he wins. But we are not weak. We are not controlled by gold, by threats, or by the past. We are defined by the choices we make." Lucian felt the weight of her words, heavy and real. Every calculated decision, every fortress he had built around himself, it all fell hollow in the face of this moment. Maria's courage was a mirror, showing him the man he could become if he let fear control him. The intruder laughed again, sharp and grating. "Oh, how noble! But words won't save you. Only compliance will." Maria's voice didn't waver. "No, only truth will. And if you try to use me to destroy him, you will fail. Because loyalty, courage, and integrity cannot be bought. Not with fear. Not with gold. Not with threats." Lucian's chest tightened. Her words, so calm, so resolute, ignited something within him, a spark he hadn't felt in years. Rage, not blind anger, but righteous fury, mingled with his fear. He realized the intruder had underestimated them both, believing that wealth and intimidation could break their spirits. "You're wrong," Lucian said, his voice finally steady, resonating with authority. "She is loyal not because of gold, not because of fear. She is loyal because she is stronger than you, stronger than I ever thought possible. And you," he stepped forward, placing himself slightly in front of Maria, his eyes locked on the intruder. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." The intruder hesitated. That pause, however brief, was enough. Lucian noticed a small movement in the corner of the room. Maria's hand subtly reaching under her uniform, her fingers brushing against something small but metallic. What are you doing?" The intruder spat, panicked. "Protecting the truth," Maria said calmly. With a swift motion, she pressed a hidden button on the floor, activating a silent alarm. Outside, sirens began to wail in the distance, growing louder, a storm of justice approaching. The intruder cursed and lunged, but Lucian grabbed a heavy lamp from the table, swinging it with force. The man staggered back, caught off guard by their resolve. Maria moved like water, guiding him to a corner, her movements precise and controlled. Lucian's hand shook, adrenaline and fear mingling, but he felt a surge of pride. For the first time, he wasn't alone. For the first time, he was witnessing true courage in action, untainted by greed or ambition. The intruder scrambled toward the door, realizing he had lost the element of surprise. The wail of approaching police cars grew louder. Maria's eyes met Lucian's. No word were needed. They were unbroken. They had faced the storm together. But just as the intruder reached the doorway, he stopped, turning slowly, his face twisted into a dark, sinister grin. "This isn't over, Lucian. You may have won this round, but secrets always find a way to destroy you." Before they could react, he disappeared into the shadows of the hallway, leaving behind a chilling promise and the echo of his threat. Lucian sank into a chair, heart pounding. Maria knelt beside him, her hand resting gently on his shoulder. "Sir, it's over. For now. We're safe." Lucian shook his head, conflicted. "No, it's not over. Not until I understand who he is and why he knows about us." Maria's eyes were steady, unflinching. "Then we find out, and we face it together." Lightning flashed again outside, illuminating the room in stark white light. For the first time, Lucian didn't feel the weight of gold pressing on him. He felt the weight of truth, courage, and loyalty, qualities far more valuable than all the wealth in his empire. But somewhere in the shadows, the intruder was still out there, waiting, watching. And the game was far from over. The ghosts of the past. The penthouse felt colder than the storm outside. Rain pelted the windows like a relentless drumbeat, and the distant wail of sirens faded into the night. Lucian sat slumped in the chair, his fingers trembling as he traced the edges of the marble table, still slick with the sweat of fear and adrenaline. Maria's presence beside him was grounding, but the intruder's warning echoed in his mind. "Secrets. They always find a way." "Sir," Maria said gently, kneeling beside him, "we can't wait for him to strike again. We need to know who he is and why he knows so much about you." Lucian rubbed his face. "I've built my life on control, Maria. Every deal, every investment, every relationship. I've calculated the risks. And yet, he knows things that no one should know. Things only someone close could know." Maria's eyes softened. "Then we start there. Someone close. Who has access to everything? Who might have reason to hate you or to test you?" Lucian's gaze drifted toward the bed, the gold bars still gleaming under the dim light. They had lost their allure. They had become symbols of vulnerability, of a life built on illusions of safety. "It has to be someone from inside," he whispered. "Someone who watched, someone who waited. But who?" Before Maria could respond, his phone buzzed sharply on the side table. He glanced at it and froze. A message flashed across the screen. "You think loyalty saves you? It doesn't. Meet me at the Old Harbor warehouse. Midnight. Come alone or she pays." Maria leaned closer, her voice low but steady. "We can't risk your life, sir. We can't go alone." Lucian shook his head. "I have to. This is the only way to confront him. And I can't risk you being harmed because of me." Maria's jaw tightened. "Then we prepare. We're not going in blind. I've seen this city from corners you'd never think to look. I know ways to anticipate threats. We do this together, or we do nothing at all." Lucian paused, studying her face. Her calm determination was more powerful than any bodyguard, more reliable than any security system. And for the first time, he dared to feel that he was not alone. "All right," he said finally. Together, the harbor at midnight was a world apart from the luxury of the penthouse. Rusted containers loomed like silent giants, the fog rolling off the water in ghostly swirls. Lucian's limousine had dropped them at a safe distance. They walked silently, shadows among shadows, hearts beating in sync with the distant hum of the city. "Stay close," Maria whispered. "I'll watch our flanks." Lucian nodded. He had trusted security experts, analysts, even former intelligence officers. But nothing had prepared him for Maria's intuition. There was something about the way she moved, quiet, precise, alert, that made him feel both vulnerable and protected at the same time. Ahead, a figure emerged from behind a stack of containers. Tall, broad, cloaked in black, the intruder's face hidden in shadow. Lucian stepped forward, his hands raised slightly in a gesture of confrontation. "Lucian Vargon," the man said, voice smooth but cold. "So predictable. Why are you doing this?" Lucian demanded. "Who are you?" The intruder's laugh was low and bitter. "Who I am isn't important. What's important is what you've done, Lucian. Every betrayal, every corner cut, every life you've touched without care, they all come back to haunt you. And tonight it begins." Maria stepped forward, her eyes flashing. You think threats and intimidation can break us, but you underestimate the truth. Loyalty, courage, integrity, they cannot be bought. They cannot be coerced, and they will not be broken by fear. The man's laugh hardened. You've been hiding in the shadows, Maria, pretending to be the dutiful servant while knowing more than anyone. But let's be honest, how much is too much? How much does Lucian deserve to lose before the truth finally comes out? Lucian's stomach dropped. Maria knew him too well. She had always been careful, but now it seemed her past knowledge had become a weapon. He looked at her, alarmed. Maria, what is he talking about? Maria's jaw tightened, her voice calm but firm. He's bluffing, sir. He's trying to make us doubt ourselves. Don't give him that power. Not now. Not ever. The intruder stepped closer, his hand brushing against a gun tucked at his side. You should be afraid. Afraid of what you've done. Afraid of the people you've hurt. Afraid of her. Lucian's fists clenched. Enough. No more riddles. No more threats. Who are you? The man paused, his shadowed face twisting with a mix of anger and something darker, familiarity. I'm someone you left behind. Lucian. Someone who remembers every promise you broke. Every betrayal you disguised as ambition. You don't know me yet, but soon you will. Maria stepped beside Lucian, her stance protective. We've faced storms before. We'll face this one too. But it won't break us. The intruder's eyes flicked to her. Ah, the loyal one. The one who didn't take the gold. The one who proved him wrong. And now she will learn just how dangerous the world can be. Lucian felt a cold knot form in his chest. He realized the intruder wasn't just a threat. He was someone from his past, a ghost he had buried, someone whose vendetta had festered in silence until tonight. Why are you here? He asked, voice low, tense. Why now? The intruder's grin was cruel. Because all debts come due. Because you've lived in luxury while others suffered. Because secrets always find a way to the surface. Maria's hand brushed against his arm. Sir, remember, we face this together. Fear is the tool he wields. Don't let him win with it. Lucian drew a deep breath, feeling a strange clarity wash over him. For decades, he had controlled everything, money, people, outcomes. But tonight, control felt irrelevant. The truth, courage, and loyalty around her were far more powerful than any empire he had built. Suddenly, a faint noise echoed behind containers, a soft shuffle, almost imperceptible. Lucian's eyes narrowed. The intruder tensed. Maria's hand went to her hip, ready, vigilant. And then, without warning, a second figure emerged from the shadows. Taller, slimmer, and moving with lethal precision. Lucian's heart stopped. The intruder's grin faltered for the first time. You didn't think you'd have backup, did you? The new figure hissed. Time's up, Lucian. The world doesn't forget, and tonight it will get its revenge. Lucian looked at Maria, fear and determination mingling in his eyes. We're outnumbered. Maria shook her head. Not if we fight smart. Not if we fight together. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the warehouse in stark white light. And in that flash, Lucian saw something he hadn't seen in years, a chance to confront his past, protect the people who mattered, and finally face the truth that had been hiding in plain sight. The intruder moved, the second figure closed in, and the first shot rang out, a deafening echo that shook the very foundations of the harbor. The reckoning of secrets. The warehouse was a cathedral of shadows, echoing with the pounding of the storm outside and the rapid, ragged breaths of those inside. Lucian's chest heaved as adrenaline coursed through him. He and Maria were trapped in a world where every step could be the last, every shadow could hide a weapon, every heartbeat could signal betrayal. The first intruder, the man who had confronted them at the harbor, leveled his gun at Lucian with cold precision. But it wasn't fear that crossed Lucian's face. It was resolve. The second figure, lithe and fast, circled him like a predator. The tension was so thick it seemed to absorb the storm's noise, leaving only the sound of heavy breathing and a faint drip of water from the warehouse roof. Lucian, the first intruder said, voice dripping with venom, You don't remember me, but you will. You took everything from me. Every chance I had, you crushed it, and now I've come to collect. Lucian's mind raced. Memories flickered. Fragments of a life he had tried to leave buried, a failed partnership years ago, an employee he had wronged, a man whose life had unraveled because of Lucian's ambition. And now that man stood before him, the culmination of his past mistakes. Who are you? Lucian demanded, voice tight. Tell me. The man's grin widened, sinister and cruel. I'm Adrian Mavros. You don't remember me, do you? 5 years ago, you ruined my business, ruined my reputation, left me penniless. I swore I would make you pay, and tonight I begin. Lucian's stomach sank. Adrian. The name pulled him back to sleepless nights, bitter boardroom fights, and deals that had ended in betrayal. He had thought Adrian had faded into obscurity, forgotten and powerless. But here he was, armed and merciless. Maria's hand brushed against Lucian's arm. We face him together, she whispered. Fear is his weapon. We don't give it to him. Lucian swallowed hard. Her presence was his anchor. He realized that while he had been a man of power, he had never truly known courage until this moment. And courage, he now understood, was contagious. The second intruder moved with lethal speed, circling, eyes cold and calculating. You underestimated me, the figure said. I've been waiting for this moment too. You may have wealth, but you have left a trail of enemies, and I am one of the deadliest. Lucian's pulse spiked. Who are you? The figure paused, the shadows shifting across their face. I am someone who knows everything you've tried to hide. Someone who knows that gold, power, and deception can't protect you. I am the consequence of your mistakes. Maria stepped forward, unflinching. We are not defined by the mistakes we've made, but by the choices we make now. And your threats, your vendettas, will not break us. A tense silence followed. Lightning flashed, illuminating the two intruders' faces. And in that moment, Lucian recognized the second figure, a ghost from a past he had tried to bury even deeper than Adrian. The man who had once been his mentor, a father figure in business, now twisted with resentment, rage, and betrayal. Marcus. Lucian's voice cracked. You are my guide, my friend. Marcus's eyes were cold steel. Friend? You stole everything from me. Lucian. My reputation, my clients, my trust. And now I am here to balance the scales. No one cheats fate, not even you. Lucian's mind reeled. The storm, the gold, the test of loyalty, it all led here. He had created enemies from his ambition, and now they had returned with vengeance in their eyes. Maria's hand rested lightly on Lucian's shoulder. Sir, listen to me. Focus. Fear will only give them power. Together, we are stronger than they think. Lucian drew a deep breath, the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He realized that this was no longer just about survival. It was about reckoning with the past, with the choices he had made, with the people whose lives had been affected by his ambition. Adrian Marcus, Lucian began, voice steady. You both think I am here alone, weak, vulnerable, but I have never been alone. I have Maria beside me, and she has shown me something I forgot long ago, that courage, integrity, and loyalty are stronger than any grudge. The intruders hesitated, surprised by his calm, by the steel in his eyes, by the quiet power that Maria radiated. Maria stepped fully into the open, her gaze unwavering. You want revenge, she said, voice sharp and clear. But what you call revenge is just hatred disguised as purpose. You seek to destroy him, but the only thing you'll destroy is yourself, because hatred consumes everything it touches. Adrian's hand twitched on his gun. Marcus's jaw clenched. Both were caught between fury and disbelief. Lucian moved then, fast and deliberate. He didn't attack recklessly. He used strategy, drawing on instincts honed over decades of negotiation, observation, and survival in the ruthless world of business. He created distance, positioning himself and Maria where the intruders' movements were constrained, their choices limited. Maria acted in tandem, her movements precise, protective, fluid. She was more than a servant. She was a force, unyielding and fearless. Each of her actions conveyed strength, intelligence, and moral clarity. The intruders, for the first time, realized they had misjudged her. Enough! Lucian's voice rang out, commanding, full of authority and clarity. I am responsible for my past. I will not deny it. But I will not be broken by your anger. You want to settle scores? Then speak your truth, not through threats, not through fear, but through confrontation. Adrian's eyes narrowed. Marcus's posture stiffened. They exchanged a glance, a flicker of hesitation betraying their human vulnerability. For years, they had fed on rage and revenge. But now, confronted with Lucian's humility, Maria's courage, and her own shadows of conscience, doubt crept in. Maria's voice cut through the tension like a blade. You see the storm outside? It doesn't choose who it strikes. But inside, we choose how to weather it. You can destroy him, or you can let the truth guide you. Redemption is always possible, even for those who have walked the darkest paths. Adrian's gun wavered. Marcus's hands trembled slightly. For the first time in years, their rage met something immovable, a combination of forgiveness, strength, and courage that refused to be intimidated. Lucian stepped forward, voice firm but empathetic. I will not ask you to forgive me. I don't expect it, but I will ask you to see the truth. You want justice? Then act with honor, not with vengeance, because revenge will only chain you to your own pain. The intruder stared, and in that silence, something shifted. The storm outside roared, the lightning flashing across the harbor, illuminating the warehouse in harsh white light. In that moment, the past was laid bare, the choices of the present crystallized, and the path to redemption glimmered faintly on the horizon. Suddenly, the wail of approaching police sirens broke through the tension, cutting through the storm of emotions. Adrian and Marcus froze. The realization of consequences hit them like a physical blow. The law was coming. Their time, their advantage, was slipping. Adrian cursed under his breath. Marcus's shoulders slumped, the fire of vengeance dimming in the face of inevitability. Maria took a step forward, calm and commanding. It's over. The storm has passed. Face the consequences of your actions. That is the only way forward. Lucian exhaled, the tension in his body easing slightly. He had survived the confrontation, but more importantly, he had confronted his past, witnessed the power of courage, and realized the true worth of loyalty. And standing beside him, Maria's presence was a living testament that integrity and bravery could overcome fear, greed, and betrayal. Lightning flashed one final time, illuminating the gold bars, the warehouse, and the faces of those who had come seeking revenge. In that light, Lucian saw clearly for the first time that courage, truth, and moral strength were more valuable than any fortune, more powerful than any fear. And yet, outside the warehouse, shadows stirred. One question remained unanswered. Would justice, redemption, and truth be enough to contain the darkness that still lingered in the hearts of those who sought vengeance? Triumph of truth. The warehouse felt impossibly still, the storm finally beginning to subside. The rain had slowed to a drizzle, and the first streaks of moonlight pierced through the cracks in the roof, casting pale silver lines across the wet concrete floor. Sirens approached in the distance, a steady reminder that consequences were unavoidable, but justice was within reach. Lucian stood with Maria at his side, their eyes fixed on Adrian and Marcus. Both men were tense, their anger dissipating into something darker, resignation. The weapons were still in their hands, but the fire that had driven them moments ago had dimmed. You're not going to shoot us? Adrian asked, his voice hoarse. Lucian shook his head. No, but you're going to face what you've done. Every betrayal, every deceit, every life you've tried to manipulate. Justice doesn't need me to enforce it. It will come for you. Marcus's jaw tightened. And if we refuse? Maria's gaze was sharp, unwavering. Then the law will take its course. But you'll also be stuck in your own bitterness forever. You'll never find peace until you confront the consequences of your actions. There's a choice. Redemption or endless regret. It's yours to take. For a tense heartbeat, both men said nothing. The storm outside had passed almost completely, leaving only the rhythmic dripping of water from the warehouse ceiling. The silence pressed down, and yet it wasn't oppressive. It was a mirror reflecting the weight of truth back at them. Then, slowly, Adrian lowered his weapon. Marcus followed. The first step toward accountability had been taken. not because they were forced, but because they were confronted with something they could not overpower: courage, integrity, and truth. Lucian exhaled, the tension leaving his body in waves. For the first time in years, he felt unburdened, liberated from the weight of fear and suspicion. He realized something fundamental: money, power, and gold. These had never been the measures of life. The true measure was integrity, loyalty, and the courage to face the truth. Maria reached for Lucian's hand, a quiet reassurance. "You did it, sir. You faced your past and you stayed true. That takes strength far greater than any empire could ever provide." Lucian looked at her, tears glistening in his eyes. "And you taught me something I never learned in a boardroom. That real courage isn't bought and loyalty isn't a transaction. You've shown me what I should have known all along." Maria smiled faintly. "And you've shown me that leadership can be more than control. It can be compassion, justice, humility. That's what makes a man truly powerful." The distant wail of sirens grew louder. Police cars pulled up, lights flashing, and officers streamed into the warehouse. Adrian and Marcus were apprehended, their threats neutralized, their anger tempered by the undeniable power of facing truth head-on. Lucian watched them go, a strange mixture of relief and reflection washing over him. He had been tested, not by money nor by power, but by loyalty, integrity, and courage embodied in someone he had underestimated for far too long. Maria had passed the test he had devised, but in the process, he had also passed a far more important test: the test of humility and moral clarity. Later, back in the penthouse, Lucian sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the gold bars that had once symbolized temptation and mistrust. He ran his fingers over them, the cold metal now insignificant compared to the lessons he had learned. Maria entered quietly, carrying a cup of tea. "Sir, you've changed," she said softly. Lucian smiled, a real, unguarded smile. "I have, and it's because of you. You reminded me that wealth is meaningless without principle, that power is hollow without loyalty, and that courage is more valuable than gold." Maria set the tea down, her eyes thoughtful. "And what about the future, sir? What will you do now?" Lucian leaned back, a sense of clarity settling over him. "I will rebuild not just my empire, but the way I live my life. I will honor loyalty, reward integrity, and never forget the courage I've witnessed. And I will never test loyalty with temptation again, not with gold, not with fear. Instead, I'll build trust, and I'll protect those who are worthy of it." Maria nodded. "That's true wealth, sir, and it's far more enduring than gold." Weeks later, Lucian implemented sweeping changes in his life and business. He reached out to those he had wronged in the past, offered restitution, and became a mentor to others, guiding them with the lessons he had learned. His empire grew, not through ruthless deals or greed, but through respect, transparency, and genuine collaboration. Maria remained by his side, no longer just a housemaid, but a trusted partner in navigating the moral and ethical dimensions of his success. Together, they became an example of how integrity, courage, and loyalty could shape a life of purpose and fulfillment. One evening, as the sun set over the city, Lucian and Maria stood on the balcony of the penthouse, looking at the skyline, the gold bars behind them now nothing more than a reminder of the lessons they had learned. "Do you ever regret testing me, sir?" Maria asked lightly, though there was warmth in her voice. Lucian chuckled softly. "Not for a second. It was the hardest lesson of my life, but also the most important. I tested you, but you ended up teaching me." Maria smiled, and in that moment, Lucian realized that true fortune was not in gold, wealth, or power. It was in trust, integrity, and courage. And in that realization, he found peace, strength, and a future brighter than anything money could ever buy. Because the greatest victories are not measured in gold, but in the triumph of truth, the resilience of the human spirit, and the courage to face life with honor, compassion, and unwavering integrity. Lucian's journey showed that even those surrounded by wealth and power are not immune to the test of integrity. True loyalty and courage are priceless, and the strength to face one's past, correct mistakes, and honor the values of truth and trust can transform not just a life, but an entire legacy. Maria's quiet heroism demonstrated that real influence often comes not from wealth, but from character, resilience, and the courage to do what is right, Even under the most extreme pressure, the storm had passed. The goal remained untouched, and the hearts of those who had faced it were forever changed.